humans aren't going to let humans go extinct, you know?
It's like depressing. It's dystopian. And when Mark Zuckerberg's like, you can live with your friends in your head, it's like, that's horrifying. Not a fair assumption that a job is like a good proxy for like, oh yeah, this is your purpose. This is my friend Emilee. She has a company called Mr. Sunshines. She also is a screen printer. I have a fun, novel conversation starter.
Okay.
What do you think's gonna happen?
Where do you see where this is
From
going?
technology, man.
I have a different perspective of it than you, I think.
Lay it on me.
I just don't think humanity is going to let artificial intelligence ever get that dangerous.
Really?
Yeah.
How would humanity
I think
stop itself? I wonder.
I think if it came to the point where we realized that humans were going to go extinct because of superintelligence, humans aren't going to let humans go extinct, you know? Even though we've let other...
I know, but you could say the same thing about like climate change, right?
Yeah.
It's like,
yeah.
no one's going to allow the Earth to, but
Yeah.
it keeps getting warmer.
Yeah.
And all of the there's a scientific consensus where they're like, this is going to be bad.
Yeah.
And people are like, yeah, but it's not bad right now. And I think that is the same mentality for any innovation. Like,
Yeah.
people are just like, oh, cool, we have jet engines now? And it's like, yeah, you can fly anywhere you want. And it's like, but wait, guys, burning this much fuel is, and people are like, I am capable of flying around the world in 3 hours. Like, that's just how capitalism works. So as hopeful as I am that human beings would be smart enough to stop it, I don't think that you can at a certain point.
I mean, you probably can't. If
I believe it's like
that-
Pandora's box.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's the classic, like,
You probably can't, but my thing is like a big key to just happiness is just acceptance. And I think if it gets
sure.
to that point, we just accept it and become extinct.
and let's be clear. My thought process isn't that it's certain that we'll go extinct.
Yeah.
I'm saying that the actual trajectory of things could get so volatile and so ramping up so quickly that there's massive disruption to society as we know it. And when I say like people are going to die, is like people are going to riot, people are going to protest, and a lot of people will lose a lot of their meaning. Like inherently, I think that human beings need a purpose, and I feel like right now it's not a fair assumption that a job is like a good proxy for like, oh yeah, this is your purpose. However, it's the only one that we've had for the last 5 generations.
Well, and that's why I kind of think it'll be a really powerful revolution, because a lot of people work in these jobs that give them this purpose that's not even fulfilling them. So let artificial intelligence take that away so they can find purpose in other areas, but just don't, we just can't let them get too discouraged by losing jobs.
What if the only thing it takes away is like the knowledge end of it? So it's like, oh no, I don't need you to be a doctor. I just need you to take the blood and put it back in. The person who's like studied their whole life and holds themselves in this high regard of like, I've accomplished something big, I am a doctor. And it's like, well, now you're at the same level as a plumber. It's not that there's like they're a lower class or something, but I'm just saying if you've worked that hard and then all they need you to do is turn a wrench, you're like, oh, that sucks. So that's what I mean by like robbing people of their like purpose. It's not necessarily like, no, you can't have that job, because it's like we were saying the other day when I was like, do planes like fly themselves? And it's like, and you're like, yeah, but they would never allow a human to not be in
the flight deck.
Like they'll let the AI take off and land and do everything, but there will always be a human there. But it'll just be less and less. Of those people are necessary. We're not going to need these huge workforces. And certainly people will accept autonomous driving at a certain point. Maybe it's not 2 years, but maybe it's 5 years, even if it's 10. That's like one of the largest jobs in the US is like people driving.
Yeah.
And once we have the ability to like update any car, like my car has like the cruise control stuff. It's not like fully autonomous or whatever, but it has sensors and it can do stuff. And there will be ways at some point in the future to upgrade the software and say, hey, this sensor that you're using to keep the lane, use that for seeing if there's a crosswalk or whatever. And things will get smarter is my only thought.
Which I think is good.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm so excited, but I am terrified for what it will mean for a large percentage of people.
Well, I think that's where we just have to like keep our alignment of like what we're doing and why.
Yeah, but I think that the fear is that not many people in our society are on the same page about anything.
Yeah.
A lot of them have no idea what's coming. And it's like, oh, I'm glad you just finished being, your training to be a CPA, but like QuickBooks wins. The data that QuickBooks will have will be so substantial where you'll just be able to talk to it and it'll be like an oracle, like this is how you should structure your corporation. It will understand and do things intuitively that like used to be something that we needed humans for.
But for some reason, I think that's not going to come as quick as we think it is. Like big masses of people losing their jobs, like all CPAs just done. Like I don't think it's going to
And I agree that it's going to take
happen
time
as quick,
but it's going to be faster than you would like.
Yeah.
In whatever scenario you think. And I don't think that society we're not going to like transition from like what we have to like post scarcity where everyone's just like, here's universal basic income, everything's fine. But the chances that it like happens slow enough for everyone to get their head around it, no one's on the same page. There's people that are like not aware of like fundamental things that are happening in the world.
Yeah.
And it's just like head buried so far in the sand.
I asked a friend if they had ever used Midjourney. They make music and they were trying to figure out like
An album cover?
Yeah, and I was like, why don't you just put it into Midjourney? And they were like, what is that? And I was like, dang.
Yeah. I think that most people won't use it because you have to then explain what Discord is.
Yeah.
And people are like, what? Like a video game chat? It's like, yeah, people use it for all sorts of stuff. And then it's like...
How would you describe Discord?
A chat room.
Yeah.
Like where you can build your own chat rooms. I think Discord will be like one of the big successful players of the next like coming
I love Discord.
wave. Yeah. Once we figure out virtual hangouts, that's going to be...
What do you mean?
Just like headsets.
Have you tried? My brother and his friends do the Vision ones where you can like see the people.
I haven't put on a Vision Pro.
I haven't either. I think it would be cool, but
I think that is the use case right now. Like if you can feel like you're hanging out with people, like if while you're in North Carolina and I'm here, we could put on the thing and just be like, what's up, dude? And just feel like we're screen printing in the same room. I think that's like game changer, world game changer. Because so far technology hasn't become that like we're hanging out, we're doing something. You know what I mean?
kind of.
Like texting
Maybe
someone.
FaceTime, like.
But even FaceTime, it's like
Yeah.
a weird rectangle, and I'm like, hey, hi, and there's
And
this
it's
angle and everything. But once the person
disconnected.
is like three-dimensionally represented in your space, don't you
That's
think?
that's pretty cool.
Like-
Is that how it works? They're three-dimensionally in what you see?
It's essentially like an avatar thing that's, their micro expressions, everything, and it will be more
But is it just
and more.
projected like here? Or is it like...
Right now, their form factor is like a window, and it's kind of your 3D body inside that window. But it's not like full 3 dimensions. It's just like a projection map. So it only picks up these things. But if you turn your head like that, the thing will turn its head.
Yeah.
And so it's using all your inputs from your like natural body language. And what that will eventually become is like projecting people into your space. Where like your physical presence will feel, if you have a
There.
headset on, there.
You know what would be cool is if once they got that down, you could
It's the holodeck. Sorry. I'm just starting Star Trek. I love it.
If we were both doing that and I was projected in your screen printing space and whatever I could see, I could like, I mean, that wouldn't be possible if I could like interact with it.
Yeah. I mean, but there's so many things that will be represented with immersive objects in augmented reality. So like there will be things that you could grab and use that don't exist for either of us.
In the real world, yeah.
But
yeah.
are in our shared space. So like, say we had like a laptop that's a virtual laptop, and there's a chance that I could like turn it to me, type on it, and
then
turn it to you.
Look at it.
Yeah, like that is the sort of stuff that you'll have shared objects
together. Yeah.
But you won't be able to like turn my physical laptop, which is good because
Yeah.
I don't want someone like I don't want a ghost that's like actually able to fuck with the. I don't want a poltergeist.
That's me.
Yeah, the poltergeist.
I'm just excited about it because I think the world needs to be shooken up a little bit, and people need to kind of wake up and get out of.
Yeah, for sure. I don't like capitalism.
Yeah.
But I don't like, and I do think that there's a potential for like, one of the coolest things is, I think I sent you a video about the people being like, you can create a socialist system using AI that is uncorruptible. Like, you just give it the task of like, we need everyone to have the same allocated resources, no cheating. And it's like, okay. And it's like, and don't be racist. And it can be like, all right. I'll just make sure that everybody has an equitable share. And it's like, whoa. That's all that this is.
I was going to say.
Is the haves and the have-nots creates this animosity. And people are like, well, I worked so hard. It's like, well, if we don't need anybody's intelligence and we just need people to exist in the world, and everybody's sort of, like, it's kind of hard because, like, people will never lose their land. And so there will be like dynasties of like people who own land in New York City will always own that shit. But hopefully in like a post-scarcity world, it's like, yeah, but I don't know. Capitalism doesn't work.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to be paying rent if the person who owns the land is like, well, if you get a universal basic income of $1,200, that's going to be so funny to watch that. Like, you get $1,400 for your rent, then they'll just charge you $2,000, and that's the free market. Like it's never going to be.
What's gonna be the first thing in AI and technology to start to chisel capitalism away? Like, what's going to be the first thing?
Embodied robotics. Here's what's going to happen. I'll give you what's going to happen. We're going to figure out all of the AGI breakthroughs for like knowledge work. Like we're going to get something that is capable of being essentially like a genie, an oracle, where you can give it a task and it will go, oh, this is how I would do it, and have advancements that are far beyond what we have been able to think about. Like it'll understand the world and physical properties, material sciences, everything. It'll understand better than we do. And then we'll embody robots. And they'll be so good that manufacturing of goods and services of anything, like what it costs to manufacture, say, like a baby's diaper, it's like, oh, we can make that for literally the cost of raw materials and 2 pennies. And we're able to have the whole factory run 24 hours a day, nonstop, with basically like 1 employee. But everything else is just dark manufacturing, where it's like all the lights are off and you just have robots.
But who
in the
owns
dark.
that company? Because I still feel like greed is going to be really hard to.
Yeah. But what I'm saying is those companies will win.
Yeah.
Jeff Bezos will win, and he'll be like, we have a
Yeah.
fleet of all this, so we're making all this sort of stuff. And they'll still charge money for the goods and services. But then there will be a value-added tax. So the government will go, okay, you're the clear winner. For everything that you sell, we want 25% that's going back into the collective share. It's like shared, what's it called? Like equity in our society. So like if every major company that then kind of owns everything is taxed in a way where the money comes back into either shares of our society, like think about our society as like corporations and companies. It's like, if we all have a stake in all of the companies, and you can do whatever you want with the stake in that company. So like everybody who's over the age of 18 is issued a, like, this company grew and the stock that you have in this company has a dividend that pays back to you. And that's what you use. That company still has the ability to innovate, grow, has incentives to grow, but the taxes that they're forced to pay is easy because they have exponentially more profit. And we don't need, like, in order for everyone to cash like a universal basic income check, especially if it's not like, you know, we don't want to give everyone $100,000 every year. We just want to give them like enough to cover all their necessities and live. It's like socialism, but, you know, without the stigma.
Yeah.
But I think that that's a legit way of, like, whatever company wins, they just have to give a certain percentage of all of their proceeds back to the public.
That's crazy. I don't know how
But that's what's funny, because you're saying, yeah, I don't think we'd ever let that happen. And it's like, dude, one politician gets blown and they're like, yeah, whatever she said.
That's true.
Like, we let lobbyists just like take over whatever industry, and money buys anything. And so it's like, when you're like, yeah, people won't do that. It's like, but one dude will. One dude will take that bribe. One dude will be like, yeah, we think that we should put off universal basic income so that this one company who paid me lots of money can clean up for the next 50 years. Because whoever gets there first will have so much power and influence.
Who's going to get there first?
I don't think it'll be Google. I think it'll be OpenAI via Microsoft. So both will do well. And I think any company that is involved in manufacturing semiconductors or like GPUs, NVIDIA, Apple, TSMC is like the manufacturer of it, but like anyone who's in that world, because that's how we're going to build the brain. That's how we build AGI. It's just silicone wafers. So if you're at all in that world, that will win. But who reaches AGI first? Tesla could be it. Honestly, they could. I know that sounds like a joke. Think about the real world data that Tesla has.
Yeah, that's true.
They have models of, like, they've been driving autonomously for a decade.
Yeah.
And collecting all of that data.
That is pretty insane.
So they're, like, when they talk about like Optimus being like, yeah, this is like a legit possible product, like Boston Dynamics, their robots are so much more like...
What is Optimus again?
It's Tesla's...
Robot?
Yeah, humanoid robot. They're like,
is that the one that sorted the colors?
Yeah. I mean, it's basically just the one that looks sexy. But you like see the ones that are like Boston Dynamics and you're like, that's a way better engineered machine.
Yeah.
But then the Tesla bot is basically just like them being like, oh, we'll make it look cool. And if we're able to take that sort of data, like if Tesla's able to successfully say, okay, train on all the data of this is three-dimensional space. This is how you like run as a robot. This is how you grab a knife and flip it 50 times and catch it. Like if we're able to train based on that data set, Tesla could be first. They could win. I don't think they will necessarily.
Who do you want to win?
I want a nuclear bomb to go off. No.
And end it all.
No, I don't want Elon Musk to win.
Yeah.
I don't hate Jeff Bezos. And actually, I don't hate Mark Zuckerberg. I used to.
I was going to say.
I used to. And
Why don't you hate him now?
I think he's... I can see his humanity. He's just doing... I mean, can you imagine? Like, he was like 20 years old and he's like, oh yeah, we just founded like the biggest next wave company.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, he had to grow up and be like...
That's true.
Globally recognized. And he's like cringy.
Yeah.
So of course everyone's going to be like, fuck this nerd, you know? Like, nobody liked him.
Yeah.
Especially because he's like, yeah, what we'll do is we'll steal your data. We'll take all of your personal information and we'll sell it to companies.
For our advantage.
It's like, yeah, it's an ugly thing, but arguably it's what got us here. Like,
that is kind of crazy
scrape
to
data,
think about.
collect all the data. Like, that's what all this is. And it's not gonna slow down. And I see his like metaverse vision. I think it's all dystopian. I don't think any company that's alive right now is going like, this is going to be the best technology for humans. They're just going, this is the next discovery. It's like when they were like, okay, we can split an atom and it creates a nuclear explosion. They weren't like, oh my God, nuclear power, this is so great. They're like, drop it as a bomb.
Yeah.
Vaporize Hiroshima. Like,
Kill.
yeah. Mass devastation versus like, whoa, what could we do with this? And I think that everybody right now is just looking at what it's capable of. Like, I don't think that there's not a good argument why, like, oh yeah, people don't have to be creative writers anymore. Like, oh, fun. Now all of the stories that you're told are just like a weird version of what a million people wrote, and it's best guess. It's like depressing. It's dystopian. And when Mark Zuckerberg's like, you can live with your friends in your head, it's like, that's horrifying. But I also see it as like it's the wave. And I can see like the vision. And like yesterday you were like, or not yesterday, when we were on the phone the other day and I had my headphones in and I was in the VR.
Oh, yeah.
And you were like, what did you say?
Yeah. I can't remember. Oh, I said something like, when I was a kid, I always wanted life to be
Jetsons.
like the Jetsons.
Yeah.
You were like, life is better than the Jetsons.
I'm sword fighting
zombies.
Yeah, like skeletons and like action shot while I'm talking to you from a different part of the world. It's like, fuck flying cars. Yeah. Like, I love this. Yeah. It's so fun.
Yeah, that was crazy.
And the other aspect of it is like, I'm an artist for a living. Didn't exist. Like, that didn't exist before. Or, I mean, it did, but it was harder. Yeah. So much harder. And now it's been taken away.
Yeah, I was going to say. It still is hard, and it's going to get harder.
It's better to have loved and lost than to never have loved at all. So it's like, man, I got to be creative as a job in my 20s.
Well, and you still can.
Well, yeah, of course. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that it's over. I'm not saying that the candles are blown out. Yeah. But I am saying the change is so significant that I can see it feeling like, we watched that video the other day and I was like, they're like, have you been drawing? And I was like, what's the point? Yeah. And like, I still feel that. Yeah. And that's what that other video that I recorded where I'm like, this is awful. It's like, that's the nagging feeling. It's like, hey man, do you want to foot race a jet engine? No, it wins. Yeah. So I can still do it and be like, I like getting a run in, but like the commercial viability of it seems less, supply and demand would say that I'm no longer in demand. Yeah. Because the supply has just... It's too... It's a never-ending giving tree. And that's what, like, AGI, I think, will exist as. As, like, post-scarcity. Everything, anywhere, as much as you want. The abundance of everything. But that is the worst part of humans. What? When they don't suffer. Like, not suffer, but like, how many kids do you know that suck because they got everything when they were a kid? I mean, yeah, when you have that kind of level of entitlement, because everything's just handed your way, they're typically... It's like that joke that was, like, Louis C.K. being like, they're like, oh, there's Wi-Fi on the flight. Can you believe that? And then he's like, they take off, and instantly the guy next to him's like, oh, the Wi-Fi's down. And it's like, you didn't know it was a thing. Yeah. It wasn't even possible. Yeah. And now you're already like, what the fuck? Why is it? People will be like, why isn't it making my dreams come true? I had a dream this morning and I want it to come true. And it's like, yeah, but in the past, you used to have to walk uphill to go to school and uphill to go home. Yeah. And it was fucking harder. And it sucks that is where, like, my opinion about art is that, like, your style is your limitations. Whatever you can't do well, you end up doing poorly, and it's cool because that's you. Yeah. That's your interesting, unique output. It's like people with a lisp, like, sing because it's interesting. What's your limitation with? What are my limitations? I have a different way of interfacing with the world because I'm dyslexic and I have to like work around that. So my understanding of the world has been colored with that lens or like, seen through that lens. And I think that the natural ability to draw is not something that exists. I think that you learn by making mistakes and trying. And so, I just made enough. I had the luxury of time to make enough mistakes to then say, that's my style.
Yeah.
And so it's just
That's
like
cool.
not having that time where you talk to a kid and you go, hey, do you want to draw a pizza? Or you can just say the word, draw a gooey pizza, and then
And
it's
it'll
the
do
best
it
thing
for
that
you.
you'll never be
Yeah.
able to do something better. And you could animate it and eat it in virtual reality. You know what I mean? It's like, it's going to be, there's not going to be the time to be bad at things. Like the time for boredom. You're not going to be bored. What's your limitation?
I don't know.
I have
I have none. I don't know what my limitations would be. What do you think they are for me?
I mean, that is a very personal question. I can't answer that.
Rephrase it.
What challenges have defined your life?
I'd say like fear of judgment.
Yeah, that's a big one.
I think that dictates a lot of what I do and don't do with Mr. Sunshine's. And what I draw and not draw.
Interesting.
But at the same time, I love to draw things that I'm not afraid of, but then I don't do anything with it because of the fear of judgment.
Wow.
You know, like my iPad is kind of dark sometimes.
Oh,
but
yeah.
I like it like that
I mean,
because it's real to me.
all of the stuff that we were talking about earlier where it's like, yeah, the thing that I like is never the thing that sells.
People like, yeah.
Yeah, like when I make something, I'm like, I can feel my emotion in it. And people are like, no, thank you. I'd like something happy, please.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's still, you can pass that barrier.
Yeah, no, I can.
I mean, you're actively doing it.
Not really. I mean,
You don't think so?
I haven't done anything with Mr. Sunshine's in like...
No, I'm saying like the work, the art that you're making, the things that you're saying with your work are personal.
Oh, yeah.
So maybe you're not like shouting it from the rooftop, but there's also like, that is the growth period. It's like, you don't start out going, this is the final version of this. It starts and you're like, this kind of sucks right now. I'm not saying that that's how you feel, but I'm saying like, that's the time is what dictates like when you're ready to like own it.
Put things out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because like the amount of drawing that I did before I like would share it on Instagram or something, or feel confident sharing it on Instagram. Luckily, Instagram just wasn't around. So I just would fill sketchbooks.
Yeah.
And I was like, maybe someone at Whole Foods would be like, what are you drawing? And I'd be like, this. And they'd be like, that's neat.
Do you miss that time period?
Yes.
Yeah.
But I think that's perpetually where people live the good old days.
You think people live in the good old days?
No, I'm saying like that's, the kids that are born today are going to be like, man, do you remember the early 2030s? They were so much better. All these kids that like telepathically communicate and float around. Like, it's like, it's going to be a perpetual thing where it's always like, man, what we had. That's like you're also looking at it through the lens of like your youth. Because it's like, it's better to be young.
Yeah.
And people look at it and go, now I'm jaded, now I'm fat, now I'm like,
I don't know, I
mean?
like getting older.
Yeah, I mean, to a certain degree.
Yeah.
But like, you don't hear like 90-year-olds being like, I love getting older.
That's true. That's true.
But you hear 30-year-olds being like, this is such a better decade.
The spot, yeah.
Yeah, and like that is the takeaway. If you're young, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Like, don't trip.
Don't worry about anything.
Yeah, just don't.
Have fun.
Don't trip about what you think people are going to judge you for or whatever. It's just like, dude, live
Do
up your Hey, Winston. Winston, come here.
Do you think you did a good job doing that when you were a kid or younger?
I wish
I
that
feel
I
like
did a
you
better
did.
job. Well, I know. I think that I successfully pursued something that I cared about. Mm-hmm. And I'm glad that I did that, especially considering, like, it's better to have loved than lost. You know, it's like, yeah, I got to do this thing. And I'm really glad that I was on that path. And I feel lucky because, like, certain amounts, like, certain things can happen from me being like, yeah, I like lifted myself up by my bootstraps. But then there was also like timing was on my side
Yeah.
where it's like I met someone who's like, you should do an art thing. And I'm like an art festival. And I'm like, I'm scared. And they're like, do it. Mm-hmm. And it's like, if that hadn't happened, I would have probably lived in the judgment more and more. Mm-hmm. But it was just like the right
Push. At the right time.
Yeah, where it's like, oh, and I don't know if that exists anymore. Mm-hmm. I couldn't look a 16-year-old kid in the face and be like, you should pursue being an artist as a living. Because it's just like, it's so weird. It's gonna get even weirder. And no one's gonna care about your movie when everyone makes their own movie. Like, it's gonna be weird.
Yeah.
And I think that that will be like the next decade will be like fierce individualism where people will live in their own delusional bubble. And people will be more and more like in the book that I'm reading right now, they call it like transhumanism, where it's like they're no longer what humans beings were.
Yeah.
And it's like, whoa.
What book is it?
Nexus. It's dope. It's also like very confusing. It's a sci-fi book that is like so far based in the future that it's hard for me to
grasp the concept.
It's hard for me to get there. But then I eventually get there and I'm like, wow, this is genius.
You like it?
Yeah. I think it's
what they're predicting.
It's not that they're predicting something, they're telling like a story with, you know, all of these different characters playing various different like positions in. So the outline is that, or like the basis of the story so far is that people are creating drugs that they're essentially like coding like they would code a computer. And it's allowing people to like tap into other people's brains. So essentially they're like designing a drug to experience telepathy and connect minds, and like what that could be is like hive mind stuff, which is essentially like Neuralink or any of these things, like what it could be. Like they're calling the Neuralink thing telepathy.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's not that it's there yet,
but
because we don't have the data that it's there yet, but that's what they're like, yeah, this is what it's gonna be though.
That's cool.
And this is basically just a version of that where they're like, yeah, people will experience telepathy. And it's like, that is really hard for me to wrap my head around.
Do you think natural telepathy is real?
I think anything that you believe is real is kind of real. For real. Like,
Yeah.
I think that like if you believe it enough,
it's real.
you
to
can
you.
put a
Yeah.
stone, you know, a crystal in your butt and be like, I feel, you know, the root chakras of Earth. So it's like, it's truly like, it's in the eye of the beholder. Like, me and you could stare into each other's eyes and probably get some ideas across. But I'm not convinced that that isn't body language. I've just never experienced telepathy.
Yeah.
Have you?
Kind of.
Okay.
Not telepathy, but just like, you know, when you're just so connected with someone.
Yeah.
And you
But
just...
that's a result of you being like, if you put two mice in a cage for long enough, when you ring a bell, they both turn. They like know where they're at and they know the score.
Yeah.
Because they're sharing a reality. And so like I think some of those experiences that people describe of being like, oh, I was so in tune. And it's like, yeah, we're like highly
Sharing
tunable
this,
things, and we can learn the same input output, like a wind chill, and you both look at each other and it's like, Did you just look at each other and the wind blew? Or did you look at each other because the
you
wind...
experienced the same thing.
And so it's like, there's too many variables to like nail it down scientifically. But that being said, having the wind blow and look at someone in the eye and be like, whoa, we just experienced that at the exact same time. And there's like a shared existence or a shared feeling of reality. That's as significant as if you were to be telepathic. But thinking about like doing like a payload of information transferred into someone else's head is so fun for me to think about. Where like I don't have to bore you with like this long story about what's going on, but I can just go,
I'm going to put it in your head.
I'm just going to put how it feels to have this happen and the narrative of what happened and my criticisms about myself and everything, and I'll package it all into a zip drive and just like, and you just open it and you go, it's not your fault. You know what I mean? Like you just know that is a level of communication that there's a few things that I think could dissuade AI from like destroying everything. And it's in this order. If we can figure out telepathy and all that sort of stuff, that's like number 3. If we can rule out like capitalism as being the driving source and like transfer things into a post-scarcity model. And 3, everybody take MDMA at the same time. It's just like, if those happened, that would just fix some very fundamental things. I don't know.
The MDMA one, that's interesting.
It's also like, could be like the biggest disaster ever.
I don't think so, because I think that's where so many issues stem from, you know?
For sure.
Lack of connection, lack of love.
But some people are so whacked out from their lack of love that if they got it, they'd be like, get away from me. You know what I mean? But if the sentiment of what that means, even if it was done through telepathic communication, if everyone was able to get to that place where they're just like, I feel unconditional love in and out, we would have like a real shot at like landing the whole, hey everybody, nobody has a job anymore, but like, let's all be on Molly for 48 hours. And it's just an experience where everyone feels it, and then afterwards it's like, everybody take a day, watch TV on the device we've provided to you. You can hang out and watch whatever you want.
That would only work though if people take what happened in that 48 hours back into reality, which I think is where like you can get a lot. It's kind of
rare for that to happen.
Yeah, like you can get a lot out of substances if you're willing to take what you experience while under the substance to your reality afterwards. And people don't do that as much as they could, you know?
Yeah, totally. I mean, it is weird to think that people just do it as like a party
recreational
thing.
And
it's just like, that's not the point.
Yeah, it's like, it can be fun, but you can also gain so much.
Yeah, like it's like, people don't like go to therapy for a party. You know, but like if you went to a party and you talk to someone and it's therapeutic, then it's beneficial. But like I can just see like using that sort of a powerful substance as something like, yeah, I'm just going to have a good time and maybe I'll meet someone and have a therapeutic interaction is sad to me when it's like, no, it's so therapeutic though. We would need everybody to do it, to have a therapist, which would be impossible in the past, right? But not with AI.
Now everyone has their personal therapist. If you had an
onboard therapist that was like,
with your little buffers.
I can feel your heart rate raising right now. Just so you know, you're fine. I already checked your health levels. Don't freak out. And then everyone's like, oh, thank you so much. And it's like, let's talk about the relationship you had with your father.
With the strict limitations that you give it.
What?
No, you know how you were telling me that you can have an AI therapist, but give it like barriers.
Yeah, you could
So
be
it's
like,
like-
I have attachment issues.
Yeah.
And I need you to call me out when I
Yeah,
am
exactly.
talking in this way. And it's like, okay. But yeah, I think that you could design a trip sitter. Oh my gosh, that is a genius. Dude,
really
that is a
good idea.
genius. Like GPT that's basically like, I'm
A
too
trip
high.
sitter. Yeah.
And it just goes,
That's a really
relax,
good idea.
man. And it just has the different factoids and things to give you the information where it's like, you're like,
And knows how
I don't
to
know why
handle-
my heart's beating. And it's like, just so you know, your heart rate raising is a normal function. And often it's just that you're thinking about it. So don't think about it. Or like,
Yeah.
let's talk about coloring. Like, you know, reading the room and being like,
Yeah,
you're,
gauging what they
you're
need.
agitated. But then there's
Yeah.
also like bad trips where like, you can have the nicest person in the world being
And
like,
it's
calm down. You're
Yeah.
like,
Fuck
get away
you.
from me.
Yeah.
Those are the people who just walk into the woods.
Yep.
And you're like,
Seriously.
oh, and I've been that person. Not
Yeah.
fun. Okay, so I think we have probably recorded 50 gigabytes. I wouldn't be surprised.
Really? How much
50
time
gigs.
is on it, do you think?
We've almost been talking for an hour. Okay, yeah, we gotta like sum it up. I won't edit this.
Yeah.
Can you imagine?
No.
But we
I
can
think
look
it'll
at-
be fun to watch.
Yeah, okay.
Later.
Well, this has been Isaac and Emily. You gotta do a sign off.
Is this our sign off? We need a handshake.
You're doing a handshake.
That's funny.